Dear colleagues, let's continue our work. The topic of the next event, Ways for Innovative Development of Ukrainian Defense Complex. Our guests are Romanov, Director General of the State Concern UkrOboronProm, Dr. Anthony Tether, Advisor to the General Director of the UkrOboronProm, and Artur, Deputy Director General for Development of the UkrOboronProm. The floor is given to Mr. Romanov. Please talk to the mic. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. You know, today we have gathered here together to inform you about the work done and to present you a picture we have got for this period since the moment of announcement of our common work. Concerning tasks and objectives to be set together with Mr. Tether. Seizing the opportunity, I'd like to thank Mr. Tether for this productive joint work. Thank you very much. This week was related to activities to a huge number of our partners. We have worked on the concept presented by Mr. Tether in the educational area, cooperating with the Parliament Committee for Education, the General Staff, the National Academy of Science, the Defense Ministry. The majority of our leading educational institutions, higher educational institutions, Kheruvymov Academy, Shevchenko University, the National Aviation University. So this work is aimed at Ukraine's getting material potential to expand Ukraine so that Ukraine may have an opportunity to expand its potential. The thing is that Ukraine concentrates serial scientific and technical potential. We don't use it on full scale. We don't use all the opportunities with our people, intellect and knowledge, qualifications, skills that if fulfilled and implemented, Ukraine would give Ukraine principally better opportunities. So we have developed a roadmap with Mr. Tether, and this week was dedicated to achieving purposes and tasks that would be reflected upon the Ukrainian defense industry. How? We are setting a task to issue new models of equipment. So UkrOboronProm has initiated a whole line of military models, UAV, surface-based systems, and the whole range of systems designed to support life of our soldiers and officers, which is very vital for our country to fight for its independence. And I'm pretty sure that the work that has been done during these days and the steps that we have undertaken and that we are planning, it means the achievement of effective and quality result so the Ukraine's industry potential can be implemented fully owing to this consolidated work. ARPA is a unique formation that was made based on the example of the American TARPA that was created in 1950s. So I think that it can be a locomotive of development in the industrial area. So seizing the opportunity, I'd like to extend my huge gratitude to Mr. Tether for the activities that have been implemented. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Roman.
Translation into English did not work. So I noticed that Romanov mentioned my name a few times, so I'm sure he said very good things. What I would like to say, without going over too much of what he said, is that the UkrOboronProm is going to be created on the model of the U.S. Defense Advanced Projects Agency. UkrOboronProm, like the Defense Projects Agency, is going to become the platform that will bring together developers, startups, exchange mechanisms, and protection of technology. UkrOboronProm, I believe, will convert Ukraine's great potential into solving the problems that will enhance its economic and security future. It will focus on solving the problems that have kept Ukraine from becoming great again. We have had a very good week. We were here in August when we announced that we were starting this venture. And in the past week, we have worked since then, and in the past week we have visited many places, many people, to explain UkrOboronProm and to get their support. And with that, I will turn the microphone over to Artur, who will explain what we have been doing this past week.
Добрый день.
Good afternoon. I would like to tell you very briefly what we have been doing, what we did during last week, who we had meeting with, and what were the outcome of our efforts. This week, starting Tuesday or even Monday, because the first meeting was in the framework of our concern-related meetings, we had a number of different meetings, Deputy Minister of Defense, the representatives of the General Staff, representatives of the military research institutes. The first meeting which we had on Tuesday, actually, we informed them about the principle of their work, and based on that, we said that we're going to create the UkrOboronProm. And actually, we met with the support and understanding on their part. Especially when we had a meeting, the Minister of Defense, they told us that they were going to set the working group whose members, together with us, will participate in the implementation of this project. Next meeting we had with the reps of the industry, we're talking about the defense industry, and we invited to that meeting. It's not only the companies, enterprises who are part of our concern, but some kind of the state-owned or private companies, enterprises, actually reporting to different ministries and departments. And we discussed what problems Ukraine faces today and what challenges Ukraine actually encounters today. And the most important issue we put for discussion to those present during the meetings, first of all, we had to identify the problem which does not exist today, but the problem which can we, let's say, face in 7 or 10 or 15 years from now, and realizing the fact that we have to be prepared to resolve such a problem whenever it surfaces or appears. Actually, this necessitates the creation of such a platform as UkrOboronProm, and to create it even today already, because I can quote here or inform you about what we heard during our meeting from the mouth of the deputy head of the Parliamentary Committee for Education and Science, Mr. Stelkovsky, who we also had meeting within the parliament premises. And he actually raised, we were talking that raising such issues, we mentioned that even the system of education today has its impact and provision for the security of the country, because the country can be secure if there are not enough or not sufficient knowledge and the people knowledgeable to that matter. And we mentioned that one of the orders placed by the Minister of Education in one of the regions of our country. There is only need for just one teacher, physicist, and 10 teachers in math. So the question is what we are going to have in 10 years from now, in a decade. Maybe in a decade from now, there will be no people who can actually transfer the knowledge to somebody else. We were talking and are talking about such problems as well. We are not talking about step-by-step efforts of ours, what we have to do today. We have to look into the future a bit further. That was the main task of ours. We have million of different developments. What we are going to develop today, we have different ideas in the research institutions, and we hear from the private researchers a lot of different ideas. But we have the situation that those developments, so to say, they were not stated by the challenge, the problem existing, and it appears that there is not a problem, which would be kind of initiating step for them. And our task today is to identify such conditions in terms which actually says this problem and how to resolve that. And we would like to unite all, and universities, academies, and the people who are active today as volunteers. Maybe it will turn out that, for example, in one of the post office of one of the cities, we'll find somebody like Einstein, but nobody knows about this genius there. And this person will stand a chance to resolve or try to resolve a problem which we are going to set before such a person. This actually determines our approach, and this is the principle which the American DARPA agency bases its activities on. Also, we had a meeting with the Deputy Minister of Economy, and also we found the support on his part. We had a very big meeting yesterday with the reps of the higher education institutions and establishments, design bureaus, and the research institutions. And at first, this was perceived some kind of a threat. I'm talking about the establishment or creation of such an organization. But when we explained to them the principles lying in there as a foundation, or in that the ARPA actually is not the entity which is going to resolve the problems. The problem resolution will rest with the developers, with the research institutions. And the UkrARPA task is to identify the problem, understand whether this problem is real, and what is going to change should we resolve this problem for Ukraine. So our task is to involve as many participants as possible, as many stakeholders possible, and to use the potential Ukraine to resolve those problems so that we can again see a great Ukraine who everybody remembers about. And actually, by the way, DARPA, American DARPA, was created having in mind something like that. I believe that maybe Tanya will tell us more about that today. Thank you. Thank you, esteemed colleagues. Maybe somebody has any questions or needs some clarification, that can offer some comments, whatever. So please introduce yourself and then shoot. Good afternoon. I do not know who to address. Should I address my question to? How many people are going to work in this structure, and how the structure is going to be arranged, organized? So some details, because we are going to create something. So who is going to fund this or finance that, and what the money is going to be used for? UkrOboronProm, for the 2.5 years when we have this tragic warfare in our territory, demonstrated that the majority, 99% of projects, innovations and new developments is based on our initiative. And not because somebody placed special order of that, not because somebody said that those are badly needed. No, we followed the principle. We could see some problems existing, and we actually initiated the resolution, the potential resolution of those problems and challenges. Over this short period of time, we managed to achieve those attainments, those achievements, which we did. Well, this is actually not the topic of our today's briefing, but we are talking about the Phantom and the Gorlitsa and the Zor and other samples of the military equipment, which we managed to create within this short period of time. UkrOboronProm is also based on our initiative. We said that our task in this specific case is to demonstrate the efficiency of such an organization as UkrOboronProm is. We did not say that we are going to take care of everything at the same time, We are going to select 2 or 3 problems, outstanding problems. We will try to resolve those problems through involvement of those counterparts or stakeholders, which I mentioned before. It reminds me, using the analogy, when there is a young boy and the parents have to educate him or her, bring it up and ensure that he's strong enough. And maybe this will happen not within the premises of UkrOboronProm. I should say that it shouldn't be done within the premises of the UkrOboronProm, because UkrOboronProm is going to resolve more large-scale tasks or problems, which includes not the issues of the defense or economy, but also education, etc., etc. And this is all the parts of one and the same whole. And we are going to do that ourselves based on our initiative, but involving the maximum number of the possible colleagues or participants, and that's why we actually arranged for all those meetings I mentioned before, in order to involve them as many people as possible. That's why also we had a meeting in the Academy of Science. We met with Mr. Gerbulin and the co-presidents and presidents of the National Academy of Sciences. Actually, we actually were a bit concerned before that meeting, and we actually were a bit anxious, I would say, because we had to understand, we did realize what great role they have to play in this process. But we left the premises of the Academy of Sciences being very much satisfied, because we could hear from them that that was a real and correct decision. And they said that the Academy of Sciences of Ukraine will actually contribute to a maximum extent for this project to be implemented. So this is we're going to have this kind of a start, Once again, I would like to emphasize that based on the United States DARP example, maybe Tony would correct me if I'm mistaken. Actually, the number of the people working there is about 100 for this huge country. They do not resolve the problem. They try to identify the problem, find those people, and those, let's say, entities who will be able to resolve those problems. So they actually determine the priority, and then they place, so to say, the order or the request to this or another institution, organization, or the group of full of initiative start-uppers, so to say. So it's very important to us to demonstrate our potential, to use our potential to maximum extent, and actually to identify the principles for which we are going to use as a basis to determine whether we should proceed with that resolution of that problem or not. And we also have to, we are talking about some, let's say, developers, they have to, first of all, to understand what kind of problem you're going to resolve using your knowledge, your experience, and your creation, so to say. So what kind of changes or transformations can be associated with this kind of resolution of this specific problem in the future? We met with many different people who have been dealing with such kind of developments for the whole of their lives. One of them told me, I'm the author of about 24 of different ideas and or developments, and unfortunately none of them has been implemented or translated into life. And maybe In those days, not really, not everything was taken into consideration, or let's say, and the truth is that many of those efforts or developments have never been translated into life, not because they are bad, but because they cannot resolve this or that problem. I can further expand my question. As far as I know, in the United States, they had very interesting direction of their activities. They developed the research work and studies, and they provided kind of think tanks. Their task was, put it this way, to take this kind of A4 size paper size, which costs $4, for example. As a result of their developments of their work, they would come up with some figures, results, and actually the vision of how they could resolve that problem. But it costs some money. So my question is, who is going to deal with the task set before the UkrOboronProm? Because it must be somebody, some manager, or I don't know who, because if there is no specific person who is going to be responsible, and everybody is going to be responsible, it will give us nothing. Well, given a straight answer to a straight question, we undertook this initiative, UkrOboronProm, because perhaps we are one of those men, or not so many, who really need those developments or this kind of the creative effort. And today we initiate that work in order to coordinate our mission. But let's say in our specific case, in the case, let's say, of defense or the industrial technologies, we believe that this mission in the near future will be delegated to the Minister of Defense, which is only logical for them to provide the monitoring and follow-up of this process. This process is now based on the initiative because, in this non-peaceful time, the task set up before the armed forces of Ukraine is huge, and there are a lot of different tasks, especially in the east of Ukraine, and together with the Minister of Defense, according to the Deputy Minister of Defense, yesterday he mentioned if this mission was going to be implemented, they would be really grateful, and they agreed to take this so to say baton in this race in order to do everything necessary to make it happen. And we actually formed kind of the ecosystem in our minds that Ukrainian defense industry is not only UkrOboronProm, but dozens upon dozens of different other companies, enterprises of the private, communal, utility sector of the economy. This is a great environment. We are talking about production, not only the different parts or spare parts, whatever else. And that's why we are starting this work. You can see that this kind of profile initiative perhaps should be, this process should be led by the Minister, perhaps, of Defense. But as my colleagues mentioned, perhaps we are talking about a more wide picture. We didn't, I couldn't hear the word medicine today, but actually the life and the health of man, of human beings, is not properly protected in the world war. And we have the people who can actually develop the medications and whatnot, owing to which the health and the life of people can be really protected. And within the in the condition of Ukraine, this can be used on a more global basis. Should we have sufficient budget and support in the state, and there will be some of the special institutes or institutions, we can actually scale it up, so to say, as far as we can possibly do that. Maybe we can hear from some experience from the United States now.
Я не можу сказати, що я повністю розумію українську систему, але я дійсно знаю, що Україна має дуже цікавий проєкт. Це оголошена платформа UkrOboronProm у серпні. Всі люди, з якими ми говорили минулого тижня, І всі наші діалоги стосувалися того, наскільки важливими можуть бути вирішення проблем за допомогою цієї платформи. І всі ці діалоги, всі ці люди, з якими ми спілкувалися, виражали свою підтримку цій організації в Міністерстві фінансів, наприклад. Я не знаю, звідки йдуть кошти, але я впевнений, що люди, з якими ми спілкувалися, завдяки людям, з якими ми спілкувалися, кошти будуть знайдені.
Thank you, dear colleagues. We will have questions. Helena Krishenko, Interfax Ukraine. I have a question to the Ukrainian party and to Mr. Tether. Mr. Romanov, maybe you will have an approximate vision about when the project can be launched, an actual start of this project. And a question to Mr. Tether. As far as I remember, you have embarked on, you have become an advisor of UkrOboronProm, and maybe for today you can voice your preliminary assessment of the Ukrainian industrial defense complex. Maybe you will say some words about factors that will identify defense capacity of Ukraine and development of technological operations. The question that was addressed to me, the start already began. It's already there. We have the start and the system is beginning to work because contacts that are available currently and which were described by Artur and Anthony, witnessing the fact of the process of the ecosystem creation. Arthur mentioned products, innovative products. In fact, it's a response to the hybrid war. And these products hadn't been created if we didn't have consolidation of some opportunities and production of a certain intellect. And we have a product of scientists' work, of military men work, and this is in fact a response to, it's a practical response to the circumstances available for today. And once again, I'd like to emphasize that this is the answer to the question of when the system will start work. UkrARPA has already begun its work. Thank you.
Я думаю, що ви ставите мені питання про людей, з якими зустрічався, із можливістю. Я думаю, що люди в організації, з якими я спілкувався, дійсно були здатні виконати цю роботу. І мені пощастило з те, що в тому плані, що люди інтегрували.
Problem that we must solve. And I believe that from my experience in the U.S., when we were able to do that, the parties came together and many solutions were voiced, and some of the solutions were actually implemented for the good of the United States. And I am confident that it's going to happen here in Ukraine.
Дякую, колеги. У нас є час ще на...
Thank you, dear colleagues. We have time only for one question, if there are questions. Thank you. If there are no questions, then we will conclude at this point. See you later. Thank you.